the system is lined up right from the word go to get us to be in the system and to stay in that system for the rest of our life. Hi, it's Hannes, or Oom Hannes to most of you. And today I'd just like to share like a life story with you. I had the privilege last Saturday to attend a reunion. 50 years ago, we were matric. So in 74, and there's quite a lot of people that attended. And I'm so lucky and fortunate to be part of that specific group. But there's something that I've picked up that I think there's an incredible life story. And I want to relate that to the way that as a young man, I thought and how I saw life. And then I want to bring this back and share with you what I think is going to happen with most people that are go-getters. Because this group was a special group. And there's a lot of go-getters in that group. I failed my matric simply because I had no intent to do anything in terms of get qualifications and degree. It made no sense to me at that point. I wanted to make money. That was my goal. But my mom said to me, you're going to pass, you're going to go to university, because I was 16 turning 17 that year. So the next year I was 17 turning 18. And she said to me, you're going to sit there till you got at least your matric. So when I passed my matric the second year, she said, you're going to go to university, which I did because I was under 21 and you were a minor. So I went to university, but in the last semester of my first year, I was sitting there and I suddenly saw what's going on. Now, there's a lot of people those days that went to university, and we were all competing. If you did a BCom, it means that not only at Tukkies, I was at Tuks, but all the main other universities had exactly the same courses that they present in order to get a BCom degree. So I was listening to this prof. In Afrikaans, it's bedrijfseconomie. I don't know what the English for that is. And you were explaining how to improve a product line and how you could turn a negative product line into a positive. I said to my friend sitting next to me, you know what they are doing? They are indoctrinating us to get a job, to get a degree so that we can become managers, and then get more degrees so that we can start climbing this management ladder. But there's a problem. Because if this guy is as good as he says that he is, why is he not working for himself? Why is he working for a lousy salary? Why is he not doing this that he tells us to do? Because if you can go to an organization and turn a negative into a positive, to me, you can write out your own check. But what he's doing, he's teaching us how to be part of the system, how to become managers. But even the manager has got a manager. And even the top managers and the CEO of the company will have a board of directors that's going to tell them and set the standards. That means you are going to give your life, because of an ego, because of emotion, to go through the different rankings. And the only way to go through the different rankings in the beginning will be to get a better qualification than the person next to you. The system is lined up right from the word go to get us to be in the system and to stay in that system for the rest of our lives. And I said to my friend, you know what's going to happen? We're going to get a degree. We're going to get a job. We're going to start at the lowest rank, because there's so much more other people that has got the same qualification that you've got. I read the other day, by the way, that 80% of the doctors that qualified in South Africa, medical doctors, hasn't got a job. 80% of medical doctors. It's not easy to become a medical doctor, my friend. 80% of them. Now, this was in 1976. I said to my friend, what's going to happen? And then we're going to study further to get more qualifications in order to perform our peers, we're going to get a master's, and then we're going to get like a senior management position, and then we're going to specialize, and we're going to get a PhD. And then they've got us exactly where they want us, because we're going to be so specialized that we can't do anything. And then they're going to not increase our salaries anymore, because now they've got you. Because you can't do anything with that PhD, because you are so qualified that you're overqualified for anyone else. That's what I said to my friend. And he said to me, this guy was well known that he would send students out. But I decided that day that I'm going to resign. I did not resign. There was nothing to resign. I never attended a class at Tux. And that day I joined the police force, because my intent for my life was to make money. Now, it's not the intent of everyone, but I could see if I could find a way to make a lot of money, that in the society that we're in, that I can buy time. So my intent was to be free, to be able to do the things with my family. I could see if I really want to enjoy my friends, my time, my hobbies. And if I had the time, the money, I had a lot of freedom, because money can buy literally freedom. At least in my mind. I may be wrong. I decided to take another path. And in the beginning, it wasn't nice. It wasn't easy. But I learned to become a wealth creator. A wealth creator is a person that knows how to create, to grow, to protect, and to enjoy their wealth. So when other people were getting degrees, and by the way, I did get a couple of degrees later on, but that was to prove that the system is cuckoos. But I wanted to have that freedom time to be able to do the things, to learn how to create, which over a period of time I did. Now, let's get back to these reunions. So the first reunion, 20 years after matric, I looked at this situation, and the egos and the emotions and strategic cars parked in front of this reunion. And people would talk about how important they are, because by then everyone had a couple of degrees, everyone was in management, everyone was, and by the way, 90% of the group, more than 90% of the group, had jobs, full-time jobs at that time, where they had no free time. You had to fill in an application or a form in order to get on leave, and then your boss could decide. At that point in my life, I was almost financially free, and I've never filled in an application to go on leave, because I was my own boss. But I could see these guys, and it was important to them, and of course it's important, especially if you're a go-getter. But there's a cost. There's a cost to that, because there's no freedom. And I'm talking about time freedom. To be able to spend time, which I did at that point, with your family. Each and every lunch. I've never missed a lunch. It was the exception of the rule. But I was there between 12 to 2 at home every single day of my life. I sat with my family. My wife was a full-time mom. There's no price, from my point of view, I can place on that. None of my friends, or almost none of them, had that privilege, except for the farmers, right? There were a couple of my friends that were with their families, members in the farming community. But except for them, none of them, not that I know of. And that to me was important. And then I would take a power nap, and then I would take the rest of the day. So 20 years down the line, my freedom was so immense. And these people were caught in this system. Like I told my friend in 1976. Now, 30-year reunion, even bigger cars, even bigger egos. Now we're 50 years. Suddenly the cars are normal. Suddenly the cars are not flashy anymore. Suddenly I can see that there's health issues. And when you start talking to these go-getters, you find that life did not turn out the way that they expect. You see, this corporate world, my friend, it's got a way to get you because it understands your psychology. It understands how important your ego is. It understands how important that emotion is to feel really important. But once they get you into the system, you're going to buy a bigger house, you're going to buy more cars, you're going to buy a second house or a holiday home, something like that. You're going to start maybe traveling, although I see very few of my friends really travel. But it's costing you money and you are depending on a salary. So I'm talking to the young generation, to the people 25 to 40 that's in this rat race and that are go-getters. Otherwise, don't worry about anything that I'm saying to you now. But I'd like to tell you a story of one of my friends, my matric friends. And he was, from the academic point of view, he was a star sportsman, became an engineer, started working in an organization. Those days you stick with the organization, had to work your way through the different ladders in order to get a promotion, get more qualifications, more degrees, more courses. Started getting into senior management. But South Africa changed about in 94. Things started to change. And suddenly, the type of engineer that and the responsibility were not the same as this culture that we grew up. So, from a management point of view, your responsibility became a lot more because now you had to check other people. Before you could trust them and knew they'll do what they have to do. And then you could just check to see if they've done it. And this is the story that he's telling me. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that is the story. And when you got to senior management, it became almost like unbearable. Luckily, his organization started to lay off people. In other words, they fired people. But they could not do that because of pressure. So they give them, I think you call it the severance package, where they give you a special deal just to resign. So my friend applied for that. They said no. So he and 5 other engineers at one point decided, but they are serious. This stress is just too much. So they went, spoke to senior management, and the guy said to them, you are too important for this company to give you this package deal. We need you. But you know what? They did not give them the remuneration. They did not, their salaries at that point in time, they could already see that the junior and middle management, compared to them, were getting proportionate higher increases. And there were a certain demographic group that started getting massive salary increases compared to the rest. But they started to battle to keep track with inflation, and I'm not even talking about taxes. So he had all this pressure. That led to a stroke. Luckily, he had a great medical aid and a great income plan and protection, and he was safeguarded. But before he was really ready, he had to go back to this stressful job that he had. But now his confidence was gone. Plus, he did not trust himself the way that he did before. And instead of a job to verify, to see if someone has done their job, he had to basically start redoing it. It took more time. He had less time for him, for his family, to exercise, mentally to prepare himself. That led to a burnout, complete burnout. And he resigned. Now, fast forward to today. It's not the same person that I associated with 30 years ago. It's not the same person that I've associated in my matric year. It's not the same person. And this is what I want to bring to you. When you're young, we do not think of the future. We think of the now, we think of the glamour, we think of, let's call it the ego. How important am I? What is my next paycheck? What car do I drive? My friend, when you're 67, it's not going to be important anymore. Your health is going to be 100 times more important than the car that you're driving. So what I want you to think today as a youngster, as a go-getter, is what do you really want from your life? Do you know that the system wants you in having a job? They want you to be a slave. They want you to be in a position where they're going to get everything out of you. They're going to milk you dry, my friend. This is what I see. I see these people that were in corporates. I see the scars in their health. I'm very fortunate. I do not take any medication, any pills, anything in any way, shape or form. I can do 100 push-ups. I'm 66, turning 67. I feel my life has just begun. And when I look at some of the other people, they are busy preparing to go out. I don't think we were meant to be like this. But for some crazy reason, at the age of 19, I could see the path. Why? Because I was willing to think a little bit. Not to think about getting a degree, not to think about getting a promotion. I could think and see what the system was busy doing. And this is what I'm doing since 2002. I'm telling whoever wants to know, be careful for the system. Be careful for what you wish for. If you wish for the biggest house and the greatest car and the best car and the best position, there's going to be a price. And I'm not sure that we count the cost of what it's going to cost us. And this is why I want to talk to you guys today. I want you to really think what is important. To me, my wife, it was important to raise our children full-time. She was a magistrate when she retired, when our first child was born. I could attend every single sport function. When my youngest daughter played for South Africa, we could go with them to Europe and travel Europe. To me, that was important, to have lunch, to decide 5 o'clock, I'm done. Even if I worked for myself. I've spent most of the time, in the mornings, I've got a little ritual where I pay attention mentally. And I do mental exercises and meditation and stuff like that. And physical exercises. Because I know that at the end of the day, your health is one of the most important things that you can have. And I know life can happen and like this, and it can be taken away from you. So be careful for these corporates. They're going to get you, and the moment that they see that you're a real go-getter, they're going to start expecting more and more and more from you. And it's good. It's good because you grow. And then they're going to come up with, we're going to give you like deferred shares. In other words, you can get a share in this company. But in order to do that, you first have to work a couple of years, and then they're going to make you feel very important because you are the exception. And then for the next couple of years, you're going to get shares. But you have to 5 years before invest. And during that 5 years, my friend, guess what's going to happen? The responsibility is going to be loaded. Because now I see 5 million or I see 10 million. My salary increases are not, of course, by that stage you're going to have a above average salary. But if you think in terms of inflation and in terms of taxation, you're going to see that you are going to stagnate. But I've got this 5 million, 10 million that I can get in increments over the next just 5 years. And then when you get there, it's going to become more and more difficult. And it's not going to show at the age of 40, 50. That is going to show 50 years after you left matric. In the way that you walk, in the way that you behave, in the way that you hold yourself. So, if you're a go-getter, why don't you, instead of spending all the time giving it to your corporate, why don't you start spending time on yourself, investing in yourself mentally, spiritually, financially, in terms of your relationship? That's what I'm talking about. Why don't you become a wealth creator that knows how to create, grow, to protect, and to enjoy your life, where you do not have to be dependent on anyone else, where you work out your own economy, where it's got nothing to do with the world economy, where it's got nothing to do with the country's economy, where it's got nothing to do with what they call inflation. In my first year, I looked in economics at what is inflation. And it was the biggest bullshit story that I've ever heard, because inflation is directly how much money does the government print. If they print a lot of money, the value of that money starts to disappear. And that is why it's so important as a wealth creator to start creating wealth, in other words, assets. And do you know that you are the biggest asset that you'll ever have? It's in you. It's your potential. And your potential is not for someone else to tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and then have a gun against your head. Because if you do not do that, you're going to lose that deferred shares, or you're going to lose your position, or we're going to fire you. I've never experienced that in my life. I've always relied on myself, because I felt good enough and strong enough in myself to say, okay, if you don't want me, I know that I can add value to individuals, to organizations. So that's what I want you to just to think. Don't think about now that you're 25, 28, 30. Think about yourself at the age of 66, 76, and 86. When you look back over your life, now that my group is basically, and a lot of them are still working full-time, right? At the age where they're going to force you on retirement, even if you're not ready, they are forcing people to go on retirement. People are forced to lower their standard of living. And of course, we all have got this ego, we all want to be important, and we all say it's okay. But I can see it's a lie. I can see that this is not what we want. I hear stories of my group that hasn't even traveled here in South Africa. Do you know that there are people that wants to get to the Kruger National Park that's never been there? I think there's not a single year that we haven't been there more than once. It's crazy. They've never been to Botswana or to Namibia or to Angola. They've never been overseas. But they had this major positions. Maybe to you it's important, and then go for it. But before you decide to go for it, I want you to sit down and just think, who do you want to be at the age of 66? When most people start retiring. What kind of granddad do you want to be? I know at 25, 26, you don't even think about it. But do you know that I did? Because I could see that life is about decisions. It's about choices. I could decide to carry on with that path that my mom wanted me and that everyone wanted me to follow. And of course, it would be good for my ego, but I decided against that. For some crazy reason, I could see what the future would be. I'm glad, I'm so glad I decided to do what I've done. I'm so glad that my wife, when I started sharing my future with her, when we just met, and I said to her, this is what I want, this is why I don't want to go and find a job. This is not who I am. And she backed me 100%. But we talked. So that's my little lesson that I want to bring to you today. I don't know if it's going to mean anything, but maybe tell me in the comment section. Tell me, where do you see yourself 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now? What are you willing to do? What is important to you? Are you willing to put in a little bit more time to learn how to control your mind, to learn how to control your finances, to learn how to build assets so that when you're this age, you're not reliant where someone tells you, now you have to do this. If you're not going to do that, you're going to lose your job. That to me is like someone's holding a gun against your head for 50 years, 20 years. This is not how I wanted my life to turn out, and luckily it did not turn out that way. But do you know that the decision is going to happen at 25, 30, 40? At 66, you can change your life. It is possible. I've seen that people are doing that, and they've done it and ended up with incredible lives at 70, 80. But in general, people are too tired. People are too worn out mentally and physically to at 66 decide, I'm going to change my life. You can. But if you haven't got that mental reserves, then it's going to be very difficult. So maybe sit down. Tell us, how do you see yourself? What is important to you? And then start working on the things that are important, like your health, mentally, your family. Those are the important things, to me at least. So whatever you decide, that's perfect. This part that I've just shared with you of other people, it's not to say that it's bad. There's a lot of lessons they've learned, and it was actually, compared to other people, it's actually brilliant what they've done and what they've achieved. But that's not for me, and that's why I'm not there. But it was decisions that I've made at the age of 19. I had these kind of chats with my children, and that's why they are where they are. So I just wanted to leave you with this, and thank you once again. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. And I wish you all of the best. And I hope that you'll sit down a little bit and think about the future. I've got a book called The Power Goal book, where I say, what is it that you really want? And how are you going to become that person? To me, it's a person that can have the freedom to be able to do what you want, when you want, how you want, where you want, with whom you want. Not to worry about money. To be able, when your friends say to you, let's go overseas, says, okay, wait. To be able to, when your friend says, let's go and camp with a 4x4, say, okay, when? And I've been in a position like this for many years to be able to do it. Not that many of my friends could say that. Now that they are at retirement age, some of them can do it. And it's so much fun to be able to do it, and especially if you can still do it. What's important to you in your life? And how are you being controlled by not having assets and try to work for your money? Is it working for you? Do you want to change? And what are you going to do about it? Thank you so much once again for your time. And then I'll see you in the next one.